What's happening, world? I'm your host, the Wizard of Oz, Benji Wozniak. And this week, me and Kara are going to go over the movie that's currently on Netflix called The Bubble.
It was actually just released, I think, right earlier this month, April 1st, right? It's kind of funny because it's like a satire film. It is by Judd Apatow, huge cast. Also, the guy that co-wrote it, the girl that co-wrote it, Pam Brady, wrote Hamlet 2, which is one of my favorite movies. And I was surprised that Steve Coogan didn't make a cameo because they got literally everyone else.
I never seen Hamlet 2. I didn't even know there was a Hamlet 2. It's good?
Okay, so this is insane. You've never seen Hamlet 2?
No, I've never.
So is it good? Maybe, but it is hilarious. So Steve Coogan plays like this like washed up bad playwright, and he goes to a high school where he writes Hamlet 2. But because Hamlet dies in the original one, he like meets Jesus. He like is like resurrected. Oh, it is so funny. It's so watch it. I would watch it. Like 2008 or 10 it came out. I don't know how well it's aged, but I remember it being hysterical.
All right, that's definitely going to have to be on my to-do list. So this movie, The Bubble, is about a movie being filmed during the pandemic.
Yes.
It's called Cliff Beast 6.
So already we're 6 deep into a franchise that is essentially Jurassic Park, which this movie was based on the filming of Jurassic Park Dominion, or Jurassic World Dominion. And then one of the actors on that set was talking to Leslie Mann complaining about all these things that were going wrong. Like they were trapped in a hotel in the UK. And then, so everything that happened basically on that set was like mimicked in this movie. And I thought that is so funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how they like had everybody stuck in. Then like they had them trapped there, and they're like, "All right, we'll make a 7." They're like, "No, I don't want a 7." But it really reminded me of like the NBA bubble, like when the NBA players were stuck in the hotels because the NBA wanted to do the playoffs, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to be there, and you're going to have to do this." And like everybody was getting sick, and they were going out doing stuff that they weren't supposed to do. But it's kind of the same thing with this movie.
Absolutely, and this movie I think did such a good job, like showcasing how people in isolation like did break down, and like how you do want to sneak out, and like I mean they did sneak out, and then the subsequent like canceling, oh my god, that was so funny.
Yeah, I think was it Karen Gillian's character when she first gets there, she's locked down for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and like she's basically like a basket case, like begging to be released. And then when she gets out, the guy goes, "You kind of stink,"
I thought that was so funny. And then in the second and third breakdowns, we see everyone kind of like madness. I thought Pedro Pascal was so funny. His like coke fueled like rages. Oh my god, and hallucinations. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it did have a good cast. Like Karen Gillian is in Jumanji and in
Guardians of the
Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Pascal is of course the Mandalorian, which is like he's huge. So it had a really good cast. And like when he went like crazy on the coke and stuff, and then he like basically is dead, and it reminded me of Pulp Fiction when they have to stab him in the heart. I thought that was great.
I agree. And there were so many callbacks to like other films in this movie. We were kind of talking a little bit beforehand, and I thought it was so interesting. It was so funny. And I don't know. And I thought the cast, like you said, was great. I mean, we had did you see Borat 2, the new one? Because the girl that Pedro Pascal's character falls in love with, she was the main girl in that. Guz Khan, who's a big comedian in the UK. He was my favorite. When he left, I was actually very sad when he ran away. I was like, "You're so funny. The comic relief is leaving."
Yeah, and it was funny because like he got away, like he ran off, and then like they tightened the security on the set, and like then like no one can leave, and then the one lady tries to escape later on, and she gets her hand shot off, and like they're like, "Oh, it was an accident." I'm like, "An accident? You shot this lady's hand off."
And I thought that was so funny, just to show how crazy the like main security guard was because he was like, "Oh, great shot, you nailed it." And then when he's talking to the main like producer, he's like, "I had no idea he was going to shoot his hand. We thought it was like a crazed fan." So I thought it just like showed like how unhinged he was. But then when he was being hunted at the end, he was actually like a little bitch about it, and he got his hand shot by an arrow by Guz Khan.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Like, the movie's great. I mean, it has a lot of stuff in it. Like I said, it's Cliff B6, and then what is it? Gillian's character went off, and she wasn't in 5, and she did some movie about like Israeli and Pakistan.
And she's not Israeli or Pakistani.
Yeah, and she's neither. She had to be like a mix of between both. Like, she was supposed to unite and it was just really stupid, but it was funny stupid.
And I thought it was a good commentary on what happens like in a celeb's head, you know. Because we see it all the time. We see these celebrities who get famous off of these franchises, and then they end up leaving the franchise to do like a serious movie that they're like convinced to by their managers and like agents, and it's bad, and they get panned. And I think it's funny because it reminded me a lot of America's Sweethearts with Catherine Zeta-Jones and John Cusack, because it kind of does that same thing. It's kind of like the big star who gets famous and then leaves and then like comes back shamefully to the franchise. I don't know. I thought it was really interesting because I think we see it a lot in real life.
Yeah, it did kind of, and it also covered like how movie stars have like problems in real life. Like Gillian's boyfriend, she leaves to go to this movie, and like she's not even gone a week, and he's got a new girl in there living in the house. It just goes to show, like, you know, movie stars, they don't like people. They have these relationships and stuff, but it's hard for them because like other people using them. Is it because of their fame? And like, you know, it kind of shows in this movie where like she's with her boyfriend, and then she calls him up, and he's got like the other girl moved in. He's like, and the son's like, "Who are you?" You know, it was just really bad.
It was bad, but I thought they also did a really good job with the girl with Chrissy Crystal, the TikTok star, and then the mole who is like pretending to be her friend. I thought she made a lot of really good points. So when she was like, "Don't post these like we're trapped, we're so unhappy" videos. She's like, there are people who are actually like have real life problems. Like, they don't want to hear you living like this is celebrity bad. It's not like bad. So yes, celebrities do have problems and things, but I just thought that was a really interesting point that the movie made.
Yeah, because during the pandemic, a lot of people had it really bad. Like the elderly, especially when people were hoarding. Like at the very beginning, when people were buying like 62 things of toilet paper, which you didn't need, by the way.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, all these elderly people that couldn't get there come in. You know, I felt bad because they're like, "Do you have any toilet paper?" I'm like, "No." And like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I am dead positive we do not have toilet paper. You know, we're not hoarding it in the back." I mean, it was just like they were just flying off the shelves.
Exactly. And I mean, I think it's arrogant to say that we're not still in a pandemic. We are. I mean, this is still very much alive and well. But I think it's funny that now the media is going to start reflecting like pandemic life. And I think to incorporate TikTok into it, TikTok dances into it, we see different people like picking up like the trendy like quarantine habits that were going around. Like we saw like the roller skating and like juggling, and like I was surprised no one was like making bread, you know? So I thought it was trying very hard to be like timely, but it's like we're still in this time. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like maybe it's a little too much too soon, but like it was still very funny.
Yeah, and I just like to say that my granddaughter was just born, Mallory, and in the hospital you couldn't go see the baby. So I didn't see Mallory till like a couple of days after she got out. So they still do have the pandemic limitations in the hospitals.
Yeah, so I mean, this is still very much something that people are living with. I mean, there's still people living with like long-term symptoms. Like, I mean, it's still very much a real thing. So I think this movie did a good job of like highlighting that it is bad. But I thought it's like, it's actor satire, you know, everyone hates the rich, which I think is like fun.
Yeah, and the funny thing was too, like, remember, like they swab him all through the movie, and at the very end, and like if you watch it afterwards, he's like, "I didn't even send him in." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And like he locked these people down, like caused total trouble for these people, but he never even sent the swabs in.
Yeah, he was like so bad at his job when his Benedict like Cumberbatch thing. Oh my god, I thought that was so funny when he turned into him. I was like, oh my god, because he kind of did look like him. Maybe it's just being thin and British. I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I said, the movie's worth a good watch. I mean, you got to go into it. It reminded me a lot of, like I was telling you earlier, it reminds me a lot of like Rat Race or Cannonball Run or Tropical Thunder, where they got like a bunch of stars that are up and coming, and they throw them in these movies together, and you know, to make like a kind of like super movie with like all these superstars, you know.
Yeah, to me, it reminded me more of Tropic Thunder than anything else, just because we did have that, like, those, like, levels of, like, filmmaking, like, realism. And I mean, having Kate McKinnon's, like, be the producer over the screen, just like constantly reminded me of Tom Cruise in that fat suit. I don't know. I got so many vibes. Like, it was so not heavily inspired. Obviously, I don't know if it was or not, but to me it was, because I made all those connections. And then even like, I don't know. I thought it was really funny. And to have like the different actors and you see what other movies they're in and the clips from that, it felt very similar.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, the movie was good. I mean, the plot of it, I mean, the funny part was when like they were trying to kill the cliff beast, and they're like, you have to like flame throw their genitals, and I'm like, what the hell are we watching here? And even the stars of the movie are like, this is seriously going to be what this is where we're going.
I know, and I thought the movie was like funny in certain like other meta ways, because then we have this scene where Iris Apatow, it takes over Karen Gillan's like a very emotional scene where she connects with like the baby cliff beast, and then they start like doing a TikTok dance in it, and it was just very funny because like it shows that like movies are trying to like expand and like pander to like these like younger, like wider audiences, and then within the movie we're watching, we see them as a cast perform TikTok dances. So I just thought that like layering was really funny and like really clever, because it's like true, it's like we see it. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was funny because like they were talking about like the TikTok dance, and she was famous for being like a TikTok dancer, and it just shows you like how you can become an influencer. Like, she was really like just doing like silly dances. It wasn't even like a good dance, but she was getting millions of views and like millions of likes, and it was just funny. I thought that was great because like that's how it is. I mean, you don't have to do anything spectacular on TikTok. You just have to be someone that people like, you know?
Exactly. And I thought it was really fun. And I mean, I thought some of her scenes were some of the best scenes to me. Like when she's fighting the mole, and then they have this very like intensive, like very highly choreographed fight. And then, because it kind of was like the montage at the end of an action film, you know, like everyone's like realizing that they come together as a team and they end up working together. And then she has this great breakout fight, and then it's David Duchovny's turn, and he's already the self-proclaimed like guardian of the franchise. And then him and Fred Armisen have the like dumbest fight I've ever seen. And Iris even says, she's like, oh, I had a way better fight like 10 seconds ago. And I just thought it was so interesting. I don't know. I thought that kind of like humor and like very like meta, like I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, like when they're trying to escape in the helicopter, and he's like, all I can do is go up and down, and like it reminded me of Tom Cruise, like how he wants to do his own thing. He wanted to be, he wanted to do the helicopters and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool too. But it was just funny because like they all work together to make it go forward, and it shows the team aspect.
Absolutely, and I love Keegan-Michael Key. I think he is hysterical. And he was so funny. He was like, I didn't even write my book. And he was kind of this like cult leader, which I think is so funny because in a big Marvel franchise movie and in a lot of other movies, Jared Leto, and he's a cult leader. And so I just thought it was so funny to have those like little tie-ins like that. I don't know if that was true or not, but that's where my mind went.
Yeah, I like the end of the movie when they're doing like what happened with everybody, and they're like, "I heard you went into a drug rehab." He was like, "Yeah, I spent 2 days." They're like, "What?" He's like, "It was 2 days. It was the 2 roughest days of my life." And I'm like, "What?" They did make a lot of like drug humor, like when they get high and everything. They're like, "I don't know why we tell kids not to do this," and I'm like, I was kind of stepping back a little bit on that. I was like, whoa, it's funny, but yay now. I was like, don't do that.
I don't know. I thought that scene was like one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie. Like they were like, we should tell kids to do drugs. And I was like, I don't know. Cause it's just like, I can only imagine like, that's what people sound like when they're doing those types of drugs. And I thought it was so funny because even at the end, like at the end of like this very highly like crazy scene, David Duchovny at the end, he's like, that's the drugs talking. Like that might be you, but that's the drugs. And I thought that was funny. I thought it was clever, and I thought all that drug use leading up to her stabbing him in the chest was very much like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I just like, for me, like I grew up with like River Phoenix dying, and things like that. So like for me, I was like, I understand the drug addictions in Hollywood, and I was kind of like, oh no, because a lot of Hollywood actors do a lot of drugs, and that, I mean, it's messing up their lives, and it's because I think that it's all they know how to do. Like they go out and they party, and it's like Hollywood peer pressure, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, and I think but I think this movie. I don't think this movie was glorifying drug use at all. Yeah. I know that it was like a one-off line that he was like, we should tell kids to do drugs. And I think it was because of the drugs that they were doing. Because, like, I mean, like, I read the article where Fiona Apple was saying, like, she was locked in a room with Quentin Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson. They were all doing coke. And she's like, and now I will never do coke. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I'll never watch a movie again. Like, Fiona Apple, like, I believe you because I imagine that's, like, what happens. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a funny part. I thought it added to the humor because it's like what bonded them. I don't know.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not a prude. I've done drugs. I'm not going to go. Don't listen. I did a lot of drugs, but my thing was just like just hearing the Hollywood horror stories, like Drew Barrymore's horror story. I just feel bad from like it's kind of funny. Like I feel bad for movie stars who make millions of dollars, but I really do because some of their lives are really screwed up.
Absolutely. And I mean, even Lady Gaga talked about when she was doing all the press for A Star is Born, she was like, when you're famous, drugs are readily available. Like they want, like people think it like fuels the creative process. I mean, you could look at anything. And so yeah, it's very sad. It's a very real thing. It's a very tough thing. But I don't know. I thought Pedro Pascal being on acid and like having sex with like robot Daisy Ridley was like very funny. I don't know. Like that still made me laugh.
Yeah, a lot of the scenes and I was just like, what is going on here? This is crazy. But like you said, a lot of stuff is like based in drugs, like famous literature. I mean, Alice in Wonderland, Edgar Allan Poe. So like drugs played a major part in a lot of things that happen in the world. I mean, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not against drugs. I don't know if I'm against drugs. I don't know.
Maybe we should be against drugs.
All right. Yes. Firm stance here. We're against drugs.
But no, I thought the movie was really fun. And I thought it showed how like people would break down in quarantine, and like, maybe like, the breaking point is like, wow, we all need to blow off steam and like, just like rage, which I think a lot of people had that mentality like like we could look at like spring break in Florida where it was just like flooded with college kids because they were just like, I need to get out and party. It's like, okay, so you're obviously like not paying it. I don't know. So I thought the movie had a lot of tie-ins like that to being real, and it's like what were some of the things? I don't know. It was too long for me. I said this before we even started. It's 2 hours too long. It could have been a tight 90, and I think they could have accomplished what they needed to.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, at some point I was kind of sitting there going, okay, all right, it's good, but it's kind of getting drawn out, and like when they're running through the thing, trying to escape and stuff, I thought it was just like, it was extended, they're like trying to make it last longer than what it should, maybe like they had a time frame. They're like, oh, we're going to film this in this amount of time, so you have to have all these fillers in there, and I didn't think that it was necessary. Like you said, it could have been like an hour and a half, hour and 60, it could have been a lot less.
Yeah, because I think to have all these like extra like human interest pieces in it, like to develop the characters, like was good, and it was funny, and it allowed for like a lot of like celebrity cameos, and it was good. But I don't know, I liked certain bits and I didn't like certain bits. Like I didn't need a lot of the David Duchovny like Leslie Mann scenes. Like granted, I think Leslie Mann's hilarious, but like I don't like that once her hand got shot off, she like was gone, And I mean, because like they even brought Gaz Khan back, like they could have brought her back. And I don't know, the movie did pass the Bechdel test right within the first conversation between Karen Gillan and Leslie Mann. So I thought that was interesting. Pretty good on Judd Apatow's part. Maybe because Pam Brady was there too, but
I thought they brought it back at the end with the robotic hand.
Oh yeah, they did during the documentary part. That's like after credits.
Yeah, it's after credits. But I thought the funny thing was too with the adopted son.
Yeah.
From what was this, Puerto Rico, and then, like how he was like I think it's funny because everybody thinks like you get a son or a child from another country and they come to America to live with movie stars that have this great life, and the kid like hated it. He was like, "You guys are always fighting all the time, and I don't care about your stupid movie." And I just thought that was funny.
My favorite part was when he was like, I'm dropping out of high school because you're going to give me a trust fund. I just thought that part was hilarious. And I think it shows like so much like entitlement. But also, like, we look at this movie, and this movie is a nepotism movie. Judd Apatow made it. His wife, Leslie Mann, is in it. And his youngest daughter, Iris Apatow, is in it. And, I mean, we see this nepotism all the time. So it's, like, funny that they were, like, hinting at, like, oh, now I can just, like, coast because my parents are famous. And it's, like, I don't know.
I mean, how many kids really do that, though? I mean, their parents are famous, and they're like, you know what? I don't have to do nothing.
A lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, because...
and other influencers and have lifestyle brands.
I mean, look, I do it. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, anybody out there that has like rich parents, I am not mad at you. Like you do you. All right. I'm trying to work and get this podcast going so we can be doing this stuff.
Right, but I don't. Yeah, I just think it's so fun. I thought it was so funny. I thought the movie had some good layers. It was a little long, like we said, but the cameos were my favorite. I would have to say the John Cena one and the James McAvoy one. Those were my two favorites. Just because I think John Cena is so funny.
Yeah, I like his Peacemaker. I do. Everybody thinks it's stupid, but I think it's really funny. I think he does a good job in it. I think, he's stereotyped as like this big, goofy, muscular wrestler, but that's what he is. I mean, he is what he is. He's John Cena. He's a big, muscular guy that does wrestling and is a brute.
I think it's so funny because I think that John Cena and The Rock have like this very similar path where like they start off in these like in wrestling, first of all. Then they do these smaller action-packed films like John Cena did like 9 seconds or something, and then The Rock has like Walking Tall, and then they transition into more like family-friendly roles, into comedy roles, into being huge stars. And I think it's so funny that they both followed that progression because they both do it so well. I mean, I like both of them.
Yeah, The Rock, you got John Cena beat as far as money and everything you do. I mean, John Cena, I'm not trying to dish you, but like The Rock got you big time, buddy.
Yeah, but like their career trajectories are very similar. So I just think it's funny, and who knows, maybe John Cena, he's getting up there, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I thought it was so funny too how they showed how much like blackmail and like corruption is in the industry. Like when we see she's like, I would tell everyone like you're gonna get this movie done because you need to do this and this or I'll expose you. And it seemed like he was in her pocket and she was in John Lithgow's pocket. And I don't know. And I think that's very telling and true because as it's been coming out, there is a lot of corruption and blackballing and scandals within the industry.
Oh yeah, and like each person had one person they had to answer to, and each person tried to make the other person pay them more money.
Yeah,
they're like, oh well, we can't get it done unless you pay this. And they're like, just get it done, and like it went up the scale of ladder to like the very highest person, where he's like, just here's the money. And I was like, does that really happen? And then it comes to find out it really does happen. So it's kind of like you said, it's like blackballing and manipulation, and it's just the way things work.
Yeah, and I always think it's so funny when they set a movie like in our time, like because they're like when they're talking about like Batman, and they were talking about like how like Robert Pattinson is the new Batman, and I think it's so funny because like we see it again like with A Star Is Born, it's like set in our time, so it's like what exists in this world, but like you obviously don't exist, but like these things exist. I just think it's so silly.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new Batman yet, but I hear he does a great Batman, bad Bruce Wayne. So I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know.
Okay. I have no idea who you're talking to. I love the new Batman. I think Robert Pattinson does a great job because Batman is not this like cool, suave guy. He needs to go to therapy, and he's like, he doesn't have social skills. He doesn't. Yeah, he's a billionaire, but billionaires doesn't mean like money and charisma and like all this stuff. He like literally dresses up and fights crime instead of dealing with like his emotions. I don't know. I think this was a very accurate Batman. It was very dark. It was detective Batman, which I like. The soundtrack was great. The fight scenes were great. It was so atmospheric. It had a lot of good horror elements. I would watch it. It just came out on HBO Max. I would watch it. I saw it in the theaters. I can't wait to watch it again. It's 3 hours, doesn't feel like 3 hours. It's a great film.
So that could be one of our future things we talk about.
Oh, I'll talk about the new Batman all day.
That sounds good to me. I also want to do the Spider-Man, Far From Home. Oh, No Way Home.
I'll do that one too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. There's a bunch of movies we still want to do. There's like Under the Rainbow.
Don't die over here. I know we're talking about a COVID movie. Right? Are you sharing a mic? I'm scared now.
No, I'm joking.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we have a lot. We have a lot of things we want to do. I mean, there's some good stuff on the horizon. Do you want to?
Yeah, you're coughing.
Water.
We're going.
What's it?
Yeah, want some pamplemousse liqueur.
Host down.
I know, right? This is what. Do you want some water though?
No,
for real. Okay. I don't know. I like the movie a lot. I thought it was funny. I thought they tried to do some things in the film that were like a little try hard to me. Like when they're like, I mean, I get that they were trying to say that like stop like relating like all this hard work and the bad hours and no benefits and no sleep and being overworked to like frontline workers, but I thought that was like a little tasteless. I thought when they like tried to unionize and then Karen Gillan, who was like trying to lead it, got like demonized. I thought that was a little rude, because those are all things that are like important for the working class, and those are still like things that are happening. So I thought some parts were bad, but overall I liked it.
Yeah, I thought at the ending when they were escaping in the helicopter and like the people that waited on them hand and foot, like, you didn't tip us. And I'm like, I can get that. I see that. 'Cause working as restaurants.
Yeah.
I've been a waiter and I've done great service on some of the people and they don't tip. And I'm like, what the hell? And like, I heard some people say, I just don't tip. What? Okay, then I just don't serve you.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. And I feel like within a richer, like money bracket, like these people are so far removed, and it just doesn't make sense, you know. Like I don't know.
Yeah, you ever see like sometimes like some of the superstars they leave thousands of dollars, and I'm like, where were you when I was doing this? I mean, I'm working at Skechers and Trader Joe's now, and when I was a waiter, I didn't get thousands of dollars. I might have got $1.50, but ecstatic, jumping up and down.
Yeah, what was that back in 1940? That was like $1,000 back then.
Listen, me and Moses used to go and have some really cool drinks. All right, thank you, Moses. He split the Red Sea so we get to the bar.
I'm just kidding. You're definitely not that old.
There's gray hair under the hat, guys.
But yeah, so back to The Bubble. Fun movie. I hope a lot of pandemic content doesn't come out while we're in it, because I'd like to forget a lot of it. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I will say that like people definitely disappointed me in the pandemic. I mean, as far as how they treated other people.
Oh yeah. I
mean, the total disrespect for one another, and it's in the show. It's kind of like the same way, like the disrespect that they have for like certain people. Like when they think that they have it, they're like, oh my god, blah, blah. But it's just like, I don't know. During the pandemic, it showed like how low we've stooped for like treating other people and the respect. Like I'm working now and people will reach over me and they don't say excuse me. They'll cut in front of me and they don't say excuse me. And I'm like, when I was growing up, if I didn't say excuse me, my mother would have my head.
Oh yeah, there's been, and I think it's just show like how many people feel like they're just entitled to a lot of things, that like service workers and working class people are just like, wow, like you were just a monster this whole time. Like you are an animal and you're not better than me. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like divide now. Everyone talks about how like, oh, we're like coming together in like love and unity. But I think like,
I don't see it.
I don't see it. I see there's so much more like active hate and like active rudeness in the world. And it's like you have to combat it, but it's like, it can get so draining when, I mean, I feel like a lot of us are facing burnout. A lot of us who have worked nonstop and we haven't gotten this luxury of being able to be like, oh, I'm quarantining. I'm taking like those 2 to 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the newest thing now is the fact that we can't get things.
Yeah.
So we can't get like cashews. We can't get certain items, and people don't believe us. And we're like, no, we really can't get this. We're not holding it from you. We want it. And I think it's also scaring people. I think this is really scaring people because like stuff that was normal, like we thought that you could have all the time, stuff like coconut and stuff like that, it's hard to get now. So people are kind of freaking out.
And I think that goes back to this like very like entitled mindset that I think America has. I think it started in the 80s, which was the big like push of this like yuppie like capitalistic era, because it piggybacks off the free love movement from the 70s, and then we see this shift where it's like very much into building industry. Like we've built industry before, but building industry, building consumerism, building capitalism, it really feeds onto that. And then through the 90s and in the new millennia with the rise of technology, we see it even more. And I think now that there are shortages and now that all these things, people are realizing that we're not on top, we're not entitled to these things, and America is slipping. We're not technically advanced anymore. We're not doing anything. We have more divides in homelessness and in hunger. I mean, I think it's just clear now that we're failing.
Yeah, and like this does play into the movie.
No, it does. It
really does. So we're not just ranting on like, look at these guys, they're just venting. No, this actually plays into the movie. So you got to watch the movie to see what we're talking about. But this does play into it.
It does, and I think, and obviously the movie does it in a way where it's like a satire of actors, but I feel like it's tasteless because there's so many people. I mean, there were so many people that died. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we can make jokes about like, oh, I didn't even send in the test results. Like, what was I really doing? And, oh, the movie failed, but we got this great documentary out of it and things like that. But like, I don't know, we're still in this pandemic. And that's why I don't want to see like pandemic media. I mean, the only pandemic media I want to see is Bo Burnham's Inside because like, I'm also crazy and depressed. Like, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say, like, for my wife, she's an introvert, so, like, the pandemic was great for her, because she was like, wait, I don't have to deal with anybody? I don't have to leave my house? Yahoo! So, like, for her, it was, like, great. I mean, it wasn't great, but, like, it didn't affect her like it does a lot of people. Like, I'm an extrovert. I love people. I dance. I sing. I do a lot of crazy stuff out the outside. If you ever come into where I'm working, you're going to think I'm insane.
Even at that 5 a.m. shift?
Even at the 5 a.m. shift.
Oh my God, I hate the 5 a.m. shift. That is brutal. But I think if you're an Apatow fan, give it a shot. I was mostly excited for it because I am a big Guz Khan fan. I will watch literally anything that he's in. Shout out Man Like Mobeen. Cannot wait for season 4. What? Borderline. Oh, Borderline's the best one. Actually, just shout out Guz Khan and his stand-up and all the media that he's in. Love you.
So listen, we have a website called whashappening.com if you want to go check it out. There's you can link into the other podcasts that we've done, and we're looking forward to you guys coming to see us. And next week we plan another live event, so like if you guys like this, come watch us again.
Yeah, and for all our loyal fans and followers that we've never really done an event like this before. So if you're going to tune in. It's going to be right around like 2:30, we'll say 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you're following us on TikTok, and we're going to be doing a little question and answer after we do the episode. So anything you want to know, we're excited. We want to hear from you. So we really hope you tune in.
Yeah, and we're going to let you go. So please tune in next week, and we'll make sure that everything goes well. And follow us, like us, do whatever you have to do. Get us out there. Tell people about us, because we love you, and we want you to dare to be different. Be yourselves always. Tune in next week to What's Happening.